Everybody's in the frame, right? Yeah.
On mine too, yeah, I think so. I think you have to scoot in a little bit for mine.
Oh, for the live?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Just move this up a little bit.
So yeah, we were just talking about that and like I said, like stop like making excuses, I guess, of like why we're not like recording more.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're just doing it and then like uploading whatever we get on these cameras, like we upload.
And as it goes, it just starts to become better regardless.
So that's just kind of the route that we're on right now as far as.
I feel like he's more of a perfectionist than I am. I'm very more of an impulsive person where I'm just like, let's record and upload it. Like, I'm the type, like, I don't even want to edit it. Like, let's just free flow and, like, put it up. And then he's like, no.
Yeah, I'm like all of them. Like,
yeah. And then he's like, no, like, let's do this, this, and this. And I'm like, that's fine. I'm down, but hurry because I'm impulsive and I just want to hit upload. I don't know why I'm like that. I just, like, want to get on to the next thing and, like,
sometimes I get ideas fast. I'm a big person on, like literally I can be talking to you about something and going somewhere and then the smallest thing get interrupted and then I'm like, damn, I forgot.
Yeah.
No,
that's so true.
Damn. No, what I feel like is like I feel like I should be better at editing as far as like workflow speed. I feel like I should. Like by the time I know it, I feel like I've done very little, and I look at the time like, damn, I spent 30 minutes just sitting here, like editing technically, and I've only have like less than.
And like editing like these, like.
Yeah, well, we do the ones from these two cameras versus like our phone ones. Our phone ones we kind of just
whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, now you have a lot more footage to do because you have both angles. And like, for me, I'm just like looking at my stuff, and how I edited the last video we put up on YouTube, I just literally just like cut out like quiet spaces, dead air, or like just nonsensical things.
Because sometimes like, I don't know, when I used to do it, I don't know, even sometimes, I know it sounds crazy, but sometimes I'll cut out unimportant parts. Or like parts that say the idea isn't fully captured in that moment. Like, and just cutting right into like, okay, this starts right here again. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of different, I use iMovie.
Oh.
That's the one I used for the one that, I feel like it's just way more intuitive with what you're trying to do. It's just super, really, but it has less capability of like Final Cut Pro and stuff like that. It's just.
Because I'm using both. I was using Final Cut Pro and Adobe.
Right.
And like, dude, it's hard because there's so much stuff, dude. There's so many things, and I'm like, damn. And it's weird because I feel like I know what most of it does. I just don't know how to do it all the time.
Like quickly, like to where you're like it's second nature to like what you want to do is like
yeah.
It comes so like that's the thing. Like I was doing YouTube videos like pretty consistently for a minute, but I changed from doing like these type of talks to vlogging, and I noticed that they're definitely different on how you edit those type of videos. So I was just trying to. The vlogging is definitely harder because it's like creating moments is like really interesting.
Even just like daily stuff. Like I feel like the good vloggers or the popular vloggers on YouTube, it's not really what they're doing, it's their personality that people are watching, like how they make everyday mundane things like interesting to the viewer with their like humor or you know what their their personality, I guess.
Yeah.
Yo, one time I was in Puerto Rico and I was editing a video and I was on psychedelic, and as I was editing the video I was like, this is weird. Right? I was like, hold up, like low-key manipulating something to be something that other people see, and then it's technically not a real thing.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I was really tripping while I was doing it, and I was like, this is actually kind of some other stuff.
That was something we wanted to talk about earlier, I guess, was like, we're trying to think like, what are we going to talk about today? And I was like, well, I feel like, you know, like y'all don't really know each other that well, like y'all can, like, you know what I mean? Like, and one of the things we brought up was like, you know, you said you're editing that video and then it like came to you like, oh shit, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
And we're like, dude, like, what was the first time that happened to you, just in general? Can you remember
with
it?
life, like
What am I doing?
what's going on type of thing. Like,
Yeah.
do you remember the first time in your life, or maybe one of the first times in your life that made you question something? Do you have a specific memory?
Ooh, this is something good. That's so deep already. I'm a deep person, so like as a kid, like my grandpa was a pastor, is a pastor. So I remember asking him like, who created God? That was one of my first
Dude, that was one of my
big
first
questions.
questions. Mine was God too. 'Cause
Okay.
mine was God. I remember being in the car with my mom randomly looking up at the sky, and something triggered me to be like, is God real? And then my mom, dude, I think back, I'm like, wow, that was really dope. Her answer was really dope. She was like, I don't know. But her answer saying, I don't know, blew my
It leaves it
mind.
open for you though. That's
Because
the good
it
thing.
blew my mind because I was expecting, I felt like I needed that, or I wanted that comfort of like saying yes, and I was expecting her to say yes, and she said I don't know, and I was like, holy. And I was like, does Dad know you think that? And she was like, I don't know. And I was like, holy shit.
Dang.
Yeah, dude, it was crazy.
Like I think that was the first time I actually asked a question and I was just like, hold on, I'm puzzled. Like, you're telling, like, at first it sounds like real regular. I'm like, okay, God made it. No, but I'm like, hold on though, like, everything has a cause and effect and everything comes from something, and I'm just like, that part just
Has anybody ever asked you that? Like a child ever asked you that?
Children ask me some of the most regular shit, and I'm just like, it's so important though. Like questions that we forget about almost.
Like what?
I'm trying to think, because I used to watch my cousin that was like 7 years old, and he used to ask me some stuff. I was like, man, I thought about that.
And you straight up tell them what you think?
Yeah.
Isn't
Dang.
it? It's so funny because we, my baby sister stayed with us for like a week, and she's 12.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so funny because she always wants to talk about conspiracy theories with us. Like, she knows, she already knows. She's like, let's talk about conspiracy. That's how she says it. She's like, let's talk about conspiracy
So
theories.
watch like conspiracy videos like on YouTube. Or last time when she asked me, she's like, hey, where do you guys get your conspiracies from?
So are you guys saying, like, are you guys scared of like influencing that?
No.
Or?
I am.
I'm not. I'm like,
because that's not my little sister. That's not my little sister. I don't know what I'm
But
gonna
don't you
say.
think that because it's happening, it's supposed to happen?
No, I don't. I never thought of it that way. I've never put it that way. Because
I just love that she's comfortable enough to come to us for that, and like she thinks of us in that way, that we're like different-minded people, you know. And so we were like talking about conspiracy theories, and we got on 9/11, and it's so funny because she wasn't even born when it happened.
That's so funny because yesterday when you guys were doing this, that's why I had to go and I was like, hold on, like they think they're regular people. Like you were saying, like I forget that people don't think that the government is some way. I'm just like, I don't think a lot of people do think about things
I don't
like
know
that.
why.
Like, it's not a regular thing.
I just assume it's obvious. I don't know why.
Okay, maybe not like the average person, but I just think about like anybody who has done anything like significant. Like not even like I don't even want to put the word like a bare minimum of what significant is, but just like, dude, okay, like if you at least read one book, that's very significant, right? I would say.
Right.
Like even like that, I'm like, okay. And then you're gonna try to just start putting it together, the whole 9/11 thing, and you're gonna be like, all right, something's weird here. We've obviously been lied to.
Yeah.
What else, you know?
And that was
obvious.
okay.
That's what I see. That's what I think. I was like, obvious.
No, but
I
to
guess
my
not.
baby sister, she's 12. She wasn't even born when it happened, and she was like, "Oh yeah, the government did that." Like automatically, she's like, and I was like, "It's
See,
funny."
that's different to see too, because I don't see that perspective. Like, because I'm not around younger people like that, so
It's
it's like I don't know what they're growing up to be like. This connects
I
already.
guess
Like,
it's kind of the same of like us with John F. Kennedy. Well, for
Yeah,
me, like I'm like
yeah.
it's so obvious
Something's
that someone took
wrong.
him out. Like, and then but like the people that were alive when it happened, like older generations, they're like, what? No, like defensive about it. That it was Oswald or whatever. And I was just like, that's so weird being on that outer.
Do you think the internet does give us an advantage in that area of like
both, dude. Just because what I was saying last time, like, there's so many people on the internet that serve to protect like those ideas and keep them like areas that you don't go to, like areas that if you do travel down that thing, you could take a left and it'll take you to, oh no, it's not a conspiracy. It actually happened. Like, it actually happened this way. And there's nothing more to question here. Like, depending which route you take on your journey down the web.
And then there's also the route you can take that makes you, like, Alex Jones, I don't know if you watch Alex Jones, but but he said that, like, being a conspiracy theorist is being, like, on a spectrum. So you can be totally left and be super schizophrenic, paranoid that everything is a conspiracy. Or you can be totally right where you believe CNN and Fox News and everything that they tell us.
Right.
So it's like he said, you kind of have to use your best judgment and use your rationality to, you know, kind of figure out what you think is going on. But that's so up for interpretation. It's kind of hard to like say what is.
I think it's interesting is that like Joe Rogan was talking about. Oh, do you think because everything that's going on, it's easier for the government to easily come out now and be like, oh yeah, we have UFO shit now. Like, let's push this out there while y'all all are doing all this other shit. We'll put this information out there now, and since everything in life is crazy already.
So like you're saying like this is like good timing to like drop the bomb or whatever.
But what did you said the other day, grooming? It was like that's technically what that is, huh? Like
they're
kind
grooming
of,
us.
Like it could be like considered like grooming as far as like, okay, we're gonna terrorize their mind a little bit, and kind of shake them up, and then like unload stuff on them. Like they're right now like in a state where it's like, dude, anything is like
anything is possible, right?
Yeah, and then it's just like, all right, we're gonna slowly see how much more they can take.
And it's hard to get a lot of people on that same mindset of anything's possible.
See,
like,
but I feel that they were also grooming us for these riots. Like we did exactly what they wanted us to do, right? They put us in the house, they cooped us up, they let us get stir crazy, and then they do some shit to trigger us, and they know we're gonna go
crazy. Race is the biggest thing to go off.
Exactly, and they know we're gonna go crazy. We're sitting in the house, can't go out, you know what I mean? Getting that, if we're humans, we get that, you know, frustration of not being social, and then the biggest social thing that you're gonna do is gonna be going to a riot and burning a car on fire and
you're
stuff.
supposed to go vote after.
Yeah.
Damn, dude.
Oh,
that's
no.
amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that. Wow. Oh, man.
See,
But
like,
you're right
you
about-
see how we got there? Like, how we got there so, not easily, but we went down the same path together. For me, it's hard to fathom that someone thinks that's
hard to
do.
Like that the idea is like so far fetched.
Yeah.
That the idea.
And we're just like, oh yeah, that's it. Could be. It could.
And then going back to like the grooming thing, right? As far as like we talked about, I was just thinking about. You said it's hard to get everybody on the same page of anything's possible. It's so hard to get everyone on that page, but like I feel like we also get groomed with like popular memes. Right, or major meme accounts, or major like social media accounts that post like memes, right? And one of the biggest memes that I've seen like circulating, or not biggest memes, but biggest type of meme, is the ones relevant to 2020. Like as far as like, oh yeah, 2020 can't get any more crazier. Like how many times have you seen that variation?
Month that's coming.
Yeah, and it's like, and
it
it's just kind of keeps you open to like the idea of like, dude, who knows
what's
what's
gonna
happen?
happen?
Who knows what's gonna happen next month? It's been crazy. We thought like, May was the peak and June fucked us up. And, July came and really showed us like there was more stuff to unveil. Like, dude, like who knows what August has in store?
So I recently looked at this video and this guy was talking about how, there's different like Anunnaki groups of aliens on the world.
Yeah.
Or souls, what you want to call them. And it's like the crazy thing about what he said is that even the people that are technically maybe one of them don't know that they also are one of them.
I've heard that.
We're all just in this simulation together. We all have a similar avatar in a way, but we don't have necessarily the same souls.
Dude, I had an experience with that. So I was meditating one time, and it was when I first started meditating. I was like 18 or 19 years old. But I did like the full thing where I like lit candles turned all the lights off. I had never done that. And I started meditating, and at that time I didn't know what it was, but I was, now looking back, obviously opening one of my chakras, because I had such a crazy, I wouldn't say outer body experience, it's like inner body experience. And
It's good you said that.
who knows how long I was out, but I came out of my meditative state knowing I was from somewhere else. And that sounds so corny, but then
no,
I went straight to my laptop and I started Googling alien species, and there's crazy websites on there talking about, that's when I discovered what the Anunnakis were, and all the different
supposedly there's a
species.
Jehovian race.
Yeah, crazy Venusians.
And that's what I was getting to.
What really spoke to me were the Venusians, from Venus, and all of all these different races.
There's
and
a
I
whole
was like,
Orion group.
See, that's kind of what freaks me out about, how when people say things about maybe somebody say something like, dinosaurs aren't real.
Right.
Right? And then it's like,
don't start.
well, and then what are the people who study
Paleontologists.
paleontologists comes and is like, dude, I dedicate my whole life to this. What do you mean they're not real? Well, okay, you said you got on, the internet and you started searching up Venerian Venus alien. Who the fuck would decide oh yeah, we're gonna check mark this, confirmed Venus aliens.
Wow.
And it's to me, it's a little bit different because technically we have bones and
Do you think
stuff
that has
like
anything
that.
to do with tribal consciousness in a way?
Tribal consciousness? You mean group thinking, or you mean no. I think that
I was gonna say yes.
I really think that our group thinking comes way more to our conditioning, the conditioning that we get, versus
Okay, but I was watching that episode of The Twilight Zone today where the aliens come down to Earth and they're speaking to the humans, but they're using their mind and they're not using language, and they're like, you're interpreting our language we're speaking to you, but this is all mental that we're doing. And I had a thought, and I was like, maybe we are all species of aliens, and that's why we have certain connections with people where we can construe our feelings, and we can just I can get what you're saying, and then you can try to talk to someone else, and it's not that they're stupid or
It just doesn't go
it
through.
just doesn't. There's something there, we speak a different
Almost like a
mental
code,
language.
yeah.
Yes,
okay, I thought of that. I didn't think of it in that way when you said group thinking or tribal consciousness. I didn't think of it
tribal
as
consciousness, as if anybody that's gonna go watch these videos, what makes them go to watch these videos? Something in them.
Okay, hold on. I was having a conversation with Carlos yesterday, and he was talking about cyclists, right? And he was talking about how he's reading this book about some guy who pretty much was we don't know shit about training. We don't know anything about training. We just know that some guys do this, some guys do that, and it works for some guys, and this works for 10% of people, this works for 22%, this works for, you know what I mean? We had this much success rate in people that tried these type of things, right? And then he's like, but one thing that they've been able to not decide or figure out, but deduct from all of that was that if you're going to be a top tier cyclist, the chances are you're born in the first half of the year. Isn't that weird? We're not gonna say anything. We're not gonna make any type of astrological claims about that. We're just gonna say from our research, it's just the case that if you're going to be a Tour de France champion, the chances are you're born in the first half of the year. Now, does that have something to do with, people in the first half of the year are the kind of people who really like challenges, thus they go out of their way to really train at these levels, or what does that tell you guys about?
But there's also a list similar to that about serial killers.
About them being born in the second half?
Dude, if
Or
you
zodiac
look,
signs in general.
what is it, all of them are fucking Sages or something? No, literally.
The Kansas or something?
No, dude, it was Pisces. No, but no, dude, you look at it, there's a list, someone did it, and it's all of them are all within 2 or 3 zodiac signs.
Yeah.
And I just remember seeing that, and I was like,
One of them was Virgo.
I can see that.
I can see that because they're very meticulous and
Yes.
very clean, very
They're gonna think it out.
They're gonna cover their tracks
And
really
Leos,
well.
they're very Leos are very impulsive, so I can just see them doing something Tory Lanez, and then it just happens.
Do you think he shot Megan?
This is interesting. So I was speculating about this night this whole time. Like, I'm just like, how could that have gone? Like, because she says that she wasn't mad at all.
Well, they obviously had liquor in their system.
So did you see?
So
I saw they talking about the video
No, I didn't know what video.
when they were all together.
Yeah, okay, I saw that one. But there's like some guy on Twitter, it's like Opinion Games Carl or something like that. He was like, so supposedly like Kylie was getting too much attention that night.
I saw that.
I saw that one, yeah.
Did you see that?
I feel like that's corny.
I think
so
feel
too.
that's
For Megan Thee
corny.
Stallion is so
dude.
crazy.
Yeah,
The
do you
thing-
think Kylie is getting more attention than Megan? Like,
I just feel
maybe?
like it's not that. It's that okay, he's always with Meg, right? And then like one night they hang out with Kylie and it's like okay. Or just it might not even be too much attention. It's just like Meg just feels like, why aren't you?
My thing is this though.
It's just
If
different.
no one's like, okay.
I don't know.
It sounds crazy.
I don't know if that
But to
happens.
me, it's just like, if you're not in even a relationship, right? Even confirmed relationship. I
Well,
get
you don't know
it.
the stipulations.
Right. But it's just like, damn. Like,
okay, this is
how is Kylie
me.
supposed
This
to
is
do
my
it?
thinking. this is my thinking is if there's brown liquor involved, just because I know personally what brown liquor does to me personally. I'm like, if that some part of that happened, you have brown liquor, you have
I can see Meg
females
trying to
in
beat Tory Lanez. And Tory Lanez is only like 5'2".
Dude,
that's what we were talking about.
Like,
And she's like 5'10", dude.
yeah, like she definitely could have.
but who knows? Maybe he was just like waving his gun around,
I think it's one of those things where
and
it's
she
just
got
like,
shot twice.
and it was loaded. Like, why the f is your gun?
Or there was like 3 shots off, right? There's more than 1 shot off. You don't swing your gun.
But
and
maybe it
shoot
was
3
insane.
shots.
Maybe he was like trying to
I
like
think he
fucking
was trying to,
scare
like,
her or something.
somebody said he was trying to shoot the floor, and that's how it shot her feet. But my thing is like, okay, say because somebody said that they shot perfectly in between both feet, right? It's like, okay, she's not just sitting there taking it though, right? Like she's not just like douche. Like that's kind of crazy. Like,
But she did get shot on the foot though.
both.
Both
On
feet.
both feet.
Both feet.
Wow, I thought she just got shot on 1 foot. What? That's intense, bro.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah.
we're going back to
The unseen.
the tendencies of people being, top tier psychos being born in the first half of the year, and serial killers also have.
What do they think that they have are they saying stamina when it comes
I
to
don't know. They didn't make any claims as far as that. They just said the
It
only
just
thing.
so happened.
They're like.
If I'm thinking stamina and I think zodiacs, I can kind of see where they're going with that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the earlier parts of the zodiac, I would think that the younger spirits would have more
Stamina.
stamina.
I would
know.
attest it
I don't
to
know.
maybe
I've been looking at bodies, too.
biology.
Like,
That's what
I'll
I'm
say-
thinking because they say that each. This is just like a thing that I've read that certain zodiacs are connected more to certain chakras, and your chakras are connected to your body.
Yes.
So I'm thinking maybe they have like a very open heart chakra or something that involves cycling that like,
Because
or
if you
not
think
maybe
about it,
not
like,
open but connected to their chakra more than others. I don't know, or maybe that.
because I've looked at it in a way of like Aries being like the warrior, Taurus being like the farmer, like Gemini's being like the idea people, the Kanye's of the world, and then like or the Tupacs, whatever you want to call it, and then Cancers I see them as also in a way kind of not gardeners like Taurus, but more so still the caring part that goes along with that and the moon and all that type of shit. So. Each one kind of to me does, and when you go later into the zodiac, I feel like it becomes more of a mental game rather than a physical game.
Yeah. And when you say beginning of the zodiac, would you say like January to?
No, I'm saying literally start with Aries and go.
Oh, okay.
Because for instance, so as a Pisces, whenever I do like psychedelics or if I'm out and I'm actually active when I'm doing it, I notice as a Pisces, I lose energy very fast. Like, and I don't know what it is, like, but I feel like as an empath too, it's harder for me to be around a lot of people, especially on like a type of thing like that.
I'm like that too.
It's so hard for me to.
I will not trip with anyone I don't know or that I'm not comfortable with.
Oh, no.
But also,
Yeah,
but I'm not.
I'll give people benefit of the doubt, to be honest. Like, it depends.
Yeah, dude, I've done that and it didn't end well, so I'm like, oh no. But as far as like the other thing, I feel like I'm the opposite being a Taurus. Like, I'd rather be out and about, or maybe like not out and about, but outside.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I guess just like more an outside person.
Interesting.
What do you guys think? So actually I bought this book for a reason because it has like certain things in it that you can like. It has like an encyclopedia in a way.
Manly pee hole.
He talks about zodiacs a little bit. But no one keeps talking while I look it up. But what do you guys think about zodiacs?
I don't know, dude. It's crazy. I went over to his house the other day, or his apartment the other day, and I was talking to him and his roommate, and they're saying like, you know, I remember people's zodiac signs before I remember their names. Like, it's easier to, you know. And I was like, wow. Like, honestly, that like I thought about that for a few days, you know. Like, I was just like, dang, that's interesting. Like,
I've met people like that, and I didn't used to be like that, but I used to be kind of in that mindset. But I feel that I was in a pocket of my life, like super obsessed with, like, when I got this tattoo, like super obsessed with like
and the other one.
like astrological signs and all of that stuff, and then I realized, like, you know, that is just one slice of the pie.
Yes. Yeah.
And I wanted to make sure that I balance myself, that there is nature versus nurture, there is experience, there is personality, there is genetics.
Yeah.
There's so many things, and I don't want to like just stay on
it just being about this.
Yeah.
That makes sense though.
But I still keep it in the back of my mind that I'm like, oh, and whenever I learn people's signs, I'm like, usually that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, if I find out, oh, they're Scorpio or something, I'm like, oh, I could have guessed that.
Like, for instance, like right here it says, the ancients believed that the theory of man's being made in the image of God was to be understood literally. They maintained that the universe was a great organism, not unlike human body, and that every phase and function of the universal body has a correspondence in man. So however the planets and these stars move is God's body, and we are just a microcosm of that.
We've talked about this. I remember we were watching, I can't remember what documentary or video we were watching, but I had this epiphany that I'm like, what if Earth is a chakra, and all the other planets are other chakras to it, a bigger thing, and we're just inside of this living thing, and we're a disease almost, right? Because like when you think of like a parasite or something infecting a cell, it takes over that cell. We can choose
to be something else, probably.
Yeah, but right now we're being very infectious.
Or at least to what we know, because who knows? Like, let's just say, what if this is our destiny, to be this infectious thing, to kill off this chakra so it can be reborn a different way? Like, we don't know what our intentions are.
We get so uncomfortable with the fact that we might not be a part of the whole process.
Yeah, for sure. And I get that. Don't get me wrong. I totally get that. I just think that, I don't know, we automatically go to, as far as when you start developing, like, you're like, when you start thinking of shit like this, you don't ever really go there first, or ever really entertain that part that, well, maybe we were supposed to fuck it up.
So you're saying maybe we're not in control. Like, maybe there's just a destiny. So maybe there's just a destiny, and like we can like talk about it all we want, that we need to make change or we need to be better, but really it's just the way it is supposed to be.
I just think about, I mean, I could be wrong, right? This all could boil back down to like how we are conditioned, but I think about like the human condition from what I've experienced thus far in my life, right? I'm like, people like they try to be good. Everybody, for the most part, most people try their best to be good, but it's so difficult. Like,
well, that's what Christians or like any religious person.
I think it's perspective.
I think it's perspective.
I think it's easy to pick apart somebody.
Yeah.
If you really try hard, you can pick apart.
But
somebody.
that's what I'm saying. Is it about
shitty they are.
perspective then, right?
No,
'Cause it's
yeah.
like you said, the conditioning of how we think what good and bad is of a person. Like,
For sure.
I think we've been so.
But I mean, even if you just point it towards how we treat the earth, like how good are you at treating the earth? And it's so hard to find a sound person that's like, dude, no, this person treats the earth fucking perfect. Like, it's hard to find that, dude. Don't you think? And it could be like, well, you know, maybe like the communities that we've been building.
I feel like that's the awakening that's happening right now. Is that like, oh, if we don't treat the earth away, we're
Wait,
gonna
we
die.
have not heard about climate change and pollution in a long time. Okay, we've been hearing about.
I heard somebody mention that recently, though.
everything.
Just recently, somebody, I don't know if I saw like a tweet like that or something. I was
no.
like, but we've been saying it for a while now, but.
Yeah, but it's just like, I mean, as far as it being talked about, like in like social media, it definitely hasn't been. Even Jaden Smith hasn't been talking about it. That scares me. I'm just like, why is he talking
He hasn't
about
been
it?
feeding the
Where is
homeless
that
either.
girl? Where's that little girl? I haven't seen her in a while.
Little girl. Oh, Greta?
Greta, where is she?
Bro, she has a show, bro.
Is it weird that to me that when things are actually happening, the people that talk about the things that are happening
But maybe
before
she's
don't
doing
talk?
stuff. We don't know. We don't know if she's doing stuff.
But
Like
my point
Kendrick,
is she's
like-
not in the front line of the media. The media controls everything, and they're like,
I feel like Kendrick already said what he said, though.
But I'm saying when it's actually happening, it's always just interesting that everybody's kind of just. I'm not saying that they're. I mean, he's quiet. I mean, everyone be quite frank. It's just like, do they believe that when it's happening that it's not my space to talk anymore?
he's quiet
I
as
think
in.
so.
Wait, he's quiet as in how?
Like, okay, well,
Like on social media? Because
I wouldn't say, yeah, he's never been on social media, but more so like,
well, just in general.
even the urgency of like talking about what you're talking about in your songs, if it's so dedicated to this, it just seems like the only one that wants to like, or not wants to, but is willing to sacrifice their life for this is Kanye.
but
And
okay.
he, to me, isn't the perfect one to
But
probably
that's
talk about
what
all this
like
all the time.
we were talking about too, is that we were saying we think we need someone like that because there are Kendricks and Coles, maybe some people would argue this, but and Jay Electronicas and other guys like that sit on their stuff for a while and really think about what they're saying,
Right.
and what they say it's received generally well. Versus like Kanye, when he's thinking about it, he says it, and we're learning with him. In a sense.
At the same time.
Yeah, and so I wouldn't say Kendrick is quiet. I think he's just selective.
That literally is what people don't understand about Kanye. Like that small thing you said is like we're learning with him. Like, and I don't think people like that idea.
Yeah.
They don't like the idea with the president. They don't like that.
Yeah.
The president doesn't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, when really in actuality, no president has ever knew what was going to happen.
Experience or whatever.
And that's what I'm saying. Nobody's ever to me been qualified for such a job.
To me, I feel
Yeah,
that the
true.
presidency is romanticized. Like being the president is romanticized, and we think they literally say he's the most powerful man in the free world, the president, right? But I don't think that's true. I
What do
think
you think?
I think it's a facade. Like
Okay, then who would you say is the most powerful man in the free world?
not one man. It's a machine. It's a machine.
So
and I
then
think-
it's not free if it's comprised of all these different things that are reliant on each other. Then it itself is not free to be the most powerful man. Who's the most single powerful man?
There's
Jeff
that-
Bezos.
Shamu
another day and Jeff
Shamu is one animal.
hasn't ended world hunger. Well,
I did see a tweet where it's just
What do you
like, why
think about
not?
that?
Oh,
what do I think about what?
Jeff Bezos being able to end world hunger if he wanted to, but just doesn't. Why do you think he doesn't, or what do you think about that idea of like people saying like there should be no such thing as billionaires?
Ooh, I'll let you go.
Yeah, I see this all the time because I see tweets of like,
I'm
who
just
am I to
curious.
tell Jeff not to be a billionaire? And I'm just like, okay, yeah, but okay, 100 billion? Like, okay, what are we doing? What are we doing? You know, it's like this one person can't even spend $100 billion. So it's like,
why? How did that happen? That's where I like look at. I'm like, how did that happen? What did he do to do that?
be white.
But there's so many white people out there. If that was the formula, we'd have,
I mean,
I'd go down the street and that white guy that's asking for money
I
with
just feel like a lot of this is like, it's so weird that we're taught that we can't have monopolies in the United States, but this is kind of what it is to me. It's kind of...
Well, I don't remember being taught that exactly. I remember...
I thought it was illegal to have monopolies.
I think we just haven't figured out what to do with them. We don't know what to do with them because when we broke up the oil shit, like that fucked everything up, bro. That was more messy than leaving it by itself. When we broke up big oil, it made it more messy. I just don't think we know what to do.
But even like what... I can't talk.
I don't know.
I want to say something bit in the company, but I can't talk about this. I don't know. It's just like I do have an issue with like not people being billionaires. I have an issue with like their responsibilities. But it is interesting to also say like me tell someone else what their responsibility is.
Mm-hmm.
But it's almost one of those things where it's like if I were them, I would want to be treated that way. So maybe that's why I can say that. It's like maybe I wouldn't hold on to $80 billion.
It's just crazy how we like count somebody's pockets that we don't really know. Like we don't know.
We always?
Yeah, no.
Don't we really do that?
No, I get you, but I'm just saying like we don't know, bro. Didn't he just get a divorce? Didn't she just take half?
Mm-hmm. But I just read yesterday or the day before that she's donated over, she's billions, hundreds of billions.
What does that say?
Hundreds of billions?
Hundreds of billions.
What does that say?
At least tens of billions. I know
how
it was.
How did she get? Okay.
She's like the 17. She's the most wealthy woman in the world.
She also, I think, herself put money into other companies that had stocks and stuff. So I think she also Bezos made millions also just to having stocks in I heard like Facebook and different things beforehand. Yeah. So a lot of people make money off.
But his big thing is Amazon, right?
Yeah,
like the big portion of his pie is Amazon.
For sure.
And what I saw something. I've seen like two different perspectives. I saw one that was like. This one was like very superficial, right? It was saying like you want to protect billionaires because you still have a dream of maybe being a billionaire one day. And it's like, oh damn, like that's an
interesting one because people do feel that way. Like, and it's not a problem that you can feel that way. It's like,
yeah, I guess. I just think I think more than them protecting the idea of them.
I think the dangerous part about that is that there are people that grew up poor, right, in very, very poor neighborhoods and places that. Nothing was given to them. And then they have this idea of being like a Jeff Bezos where no one can tell them nothing, what they could do with the money and this and that, because how the world treated them. But it's kind of like, do we want that person with that mindset if they're not taught right? Yeah. Like why? Like how? I don't know.
I think someone like Jeff Bezos was born with certain tools and certain opportunities that obviously not everyone has, and I think that a lot of people don't realize that about the situation is that they're having this idea they could be a billionaire one day, but it's not going to come how it came for him.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people who have around, who are born like, for instance, maybe like P. Diddy's kids. Right. They have more of a starting point than Jeff Bezos did when he started.
Sure.
And if you look at the scale of from what Bezos was given to what he is now, nobody's done that. Nobody's created that scale.
But that's what I'm saying. Those are still tools that Diddy's kids might not have.
What is not?
Certain. You might have certain. I think it may be socioeconomic, maybe generational, but just because they had
Astrology-wise, they do have other.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying. I'm not necessarily saying a starting point advantage, but it is still a starting point because he has certain tools that Diddy's sons may not have. Diddy might not even have. Like, you know what I mean?
So how can he pass that on to them?
Exactly.
What kind of tools are we talking about here?
That's right. That's what I'm saying. It's
what kind of tools?
We're looking at money as just a tool, and that's just one tool.
They're probably tools we don't need, like. Yeah. That's my whole thing is we can't even think of what they could be. Probably some of them that he has.
How to start a lucrative business
how to invest in stocks. Dude, I don't know how to do that.
But that's not what made Jeff Bezos this. It isn't what made Amazon.
But you don't know what really it took to make Amazon. So that's what I'm saying is like.
I think in the
there's-
simplest form, you can break what made Amazon so big into like a simple form and be like, they solved a problem.
Okay, yes, but what I'm
problem.
saying is to solve that problem, he had tools.
Like what?
He knew he had connections to people through generational
Or even understanding
connections.
the online space.
Maybe
and
that.
how to make a like not.
I think there are tools that we can't even account for because we're not in his space. We can't even
I
fathom.
think the people also made Amazon what Amazon is, right? It's
I-
like Amazon always wasn't.
I agree
what it
because I think right. I don't think it took Jeff Bezos to make Amazon what it is.
True.
I don't think it was Jeff Bezos and his tools, whatever they are, whether it's information or money, which made Amazon as successful as it was. You know, I think that what Amazon
I think
does,
it's a life of its own. Basically.
I think what Amazon does is just.
So you think it was chance? You think that there weren't other similar things that didn't take off, like just by chance, like similar websites and similar marketplaces, online marketplaces, small startup businesses that did the same thing that Amazon does.
I think they did, but I think a lot of those other companies also stay content.
I'm thinking about
As far as like say eBay.
eBay. That's what I was thinking about. I was like, but eBay didn't start delivering shit to your house. They didn't start building
They stay content,
warehouses.
is what I'm saying. They
I
kinda stayed
still
in that
think
space.
it's tools. Like I still think that boils down to tools.
I think we're all right. I think because it takes all these things, I guess, to build an Amazon. Like I think you already have to have things in place, and I think you also have to have a new, innovative way of doing it.
Bezos started Amazon in his garage with just books, I thought.
And Steve Jobs.
But he
And
had,
Mark
but
Zuckerberg.
but he had money. Jeff Bezos had money. Jeff Bezos had money though, huh?
Yeah, Steve Jobs didn't.
With just books, I thought. Yeah.
Steve Jobs didn't
had
really.
LSD. That's what he
Everybody got LSD, dude. You go get LSD. You need some. There's a place to get it.
Yeah, Steve Jobs did have LSD, but he didn't have money. Like not like Jeff Bezos, or not like Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg was where at Harvard.
Yeah.
Like he obviously had money, you know. Like
Same thing with like the billionaires. Like it's a different level of billionaire, right? But like the billionaires in hip hop, like a lot of them didn't have money when they started, technically.
Do you think there's a way that these billionaires and musicians can stop people from transcending to where
Yes.
they need to go?
yes, and I think they do.
And is there any way for you
Yeah, I'll bring it over
Okay.
guys.
But yeah, that's
You're saying you're
can
asking.
somebody stop your transcendence of getting to God
I think that they can.
or slow down the process?
I think that they can like deter you from. Oh man, I don't know, dude. I don't know. No, I really don't think so. Honestly,
It's almost like does somebody even have that power to
I-
do something like that? Like
I don't know. It's hard to say because I'm gonna say like personally, I don't think anybody can do that to me.
right,
But I can't speak for how other people
or for an ignorant person.
or that see just to even go so far to call somebody that word.
It doesn't. Okay.
It's like hey, I'm not even
So,
over there.
so do you
bro.
think that's subjective then? Like,
What, ignorance?
it's yeah, like for me to say that people can be ignorant to
To transcendence?
yeah.
How do you think God takes those people? It's like you never woke up to transcendence. You're not accepted in my realm.
No, I don't.
Or like
think
you gotta get thrown back in there.
yeah.
Yeah.
it is. I think
Yeah.
you gotta get thrown back in there. I think
And so you get thrown back in here, we get thrown into a different one. You think he has multiple, you think it's the same one, and we all like Plato. I think. Remember, I came over and I told you about that one. Like Plato was like
I don't know which one you had. Do you know?
he had an already head.
Oh, okay.
Plato said, your first turn, you're a man,
Mm-hmm.
and then if you fuck up, you are a woman the next time, and then if you fuck up again, you come back as an animal the third
But
time.
that's so funny.
That's fucked up.
But that's funny you
When
say
I read
that.
that, I was like, oh,
It's
okay.
funny
You're like never reading Plato again.
No, because when he said that, I also told him that there was also kind of a theory that was similar to that, but the one I heard of from this book called The Raw Materials that we all come back as multiple times as women and men.
Oh, is that Egyptian?
Yes.
Yes, I've read that too.
We come back multiple times as men and women, and this is where it gets interesting. It says that people that have a hard time with, say, sexuality, it's a I said this last time. I forget this. It's almost like you get into a space of it's not an illusion, but it's a
Disassociating?
It's something. I need the word. To make sure that this comes out right. Basically, we'll kind of maybe use context, but so like when you come back as both so many times, right?
Oh.
You come back to a point that you get of what is the opposite. To the point of duality is a thing of a lesson to transcend, to be something that's not separated.
Yeah. Like you need, it's the kind of the concept of yin and yang, right? Like balancing, your yin is the more feminine energy and the yang is the more masculine energy, and you can't have one without the other. And
because God isn't dualistic.
God
isn't,
in my eyes either. God isn't a gender.
Right.
To me
right.
at least, right?
Me either. I would agree.
So they're non-binary.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Like, man, like.
See, okay, for a while I would say that, but then people started like. They didn't. I felt like I was saying one thing and people thought another thing, and I was like, man, fuck this.
What do you mean
you're
about yourself?
Yeah. Like as far as like the idea, like I just felt like for a while, like I was like, bro, I'm not any of those things. Like I felt that. I felt like I'm not any of those things.
And I think that's the way to actually think. I think it's more so like people are comfortable with saying, you know, because I have this genital area that I am this, and that does make sense. And because in this reality, this is what this is.
Yeah.
But inside, we both have a masculine and feminine energy.
An energy,
so
yeah.
To me, that tells me the illusion is a lesson.
Yeah, and I think, like what you're saying, like I've experienced that too. Like, I'm not trying to claim I'm non-binary, or I'm not trying to claim that.
There's like no label on it.
Yeah, it's just like I know that I have a masculine energy that I can tune into, and I know that I have the feminine energy is easier for me to tune into,
you know
and
what's
things like that.
interesting is that they say like basically God in itself is I don't want to say it's not, of course, just a feminine energy, but light is the masculine energy. So light, love, and then light. Light is the masculine because it creates form to love.
Yeah.
So that's in a way how they kind of, at least how they explain in that book of the male energy or the male side of things is nothing but the female in form, or their ideas in a managed form.
Well, I think of like biologically, the woman holds life within her, right? And Plato talked about this. I read other literature, like ancient poems about this, about how light, even depicted in the Bible, God is light,
right? Because
the sun creates life on earth, but earth is the feminine energy that brings it to fruition or whatever. Yeah, fruition or whatever.
It's very interesting. That's where I get to like the conversation of, or bringing it back to the Anunnaki Jehovah thing, right? Because it's like Jehovah could very well be the God that has had the ongoing image of God. It gets interesting because, see, this is where it gets tricky for me. In the Bible, it says, let's create man in our image. Plural. So a lot of people say, oh, that's the Holy Spirit, that's Jesus, and that's God. Okay.
But that's all the same thing.
Right. So wouldn't the zodiac also be that? 12, 3, same thing?
Well, I think the zodiac is
just because it's like
Yeah.
By 4 or what?
Well, I'm saying
What
like
do you
so
mean?
12, like so there's 12 zodiacs, which equals 3 really. So it really
How does that
still
equal
can be
3?
good.
1
I'm
plus 2.
lost.
Yeah,
1 plus 2.
Oh.
It's numerology.
Yeah.
But like,
I don't
but
know if I.
but
okay.
also,
I don't know why it just feels like a stretch to me. As long as just for doing that. I don't know.
but I will say that the zodiac now is very westernized, and
Yes.
it came from the Egyptians, and the Egyptians had the 12 zodiacs based on the constellations they studied, and I forgot where I was going with that. The Egyptians saw God as a feminine energy,
Mhm.
right? Like they had a monarchy at the
Mhm.
time, like. So I think that is kind of what the Bible, they took some of the Egyptian stuff and kind of like, let's
Cleaned it up in a way.
let's make it
Or
more politicized to what we're trying to do here within, trying to separate ourselves from the Egyptians in a way because they enslaved us. So we were enslaved by them for hundreds of years. So we obviously have that ideology,
And it's
but
funny because I feel like Christians automatically assume that the Egyptians were serving many gods. It looks that way,
but
it wasn't that way. Like technically, they were saying these are attributes of God.
Yeah.
These are different things
Yes.
that are God, and we call them gods as well.
Where did
Elohim.
you get that from? When did you start realizing no, they're not actually serving many gods. They're just using different things to.
It's
just
all
studying symbolism?
to me. No, I'm not. That's not how.
No, yeah, I'm
into
asking
it.
you how you kind of got there, or what made you. How did you end up there? We're studying
I said
who?
this book, The Manly People.
Manly P Hall.
I agree with you. I think it's because the way I looked at it is like, they had a god of wind, they had a god of fire, they had a god of this, and this.
It confuses people. when
But
they
it's
say
because
God.
those are how Plato would say like the ideal forms, but those things still come from a source,
So
and
do
they
you-
still thought that there was a source for those things, but those things are still higher
the
than
God
us.
of what it is.
So
Yeah.
do you feel like the Greeks were doing a similar thing?
Yeah.
Yes.
You do.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
Mm.
My friend Chris said, words are what create our reality, but words are one-dimensional. Reality is multidimensional. If we take words too seriously, we will never see reality as it really is. When the mind is silent, reality speaks. When we speak words, reality is silent. I think or don't think.
I agree with that completely. I feel that language is very worldly, and that's why they say like
Love that we're talking about. Because I want to talk about like spells, right?
ooh, okay.
And I want to talk about where that comes from and why people view it a certain way.
See, I was about to go to like meditative states. So they say that when you find silence and stillness within, you're getting closer to God.
Right, you're experiencing.
And they say God is stillness. God is the absence of this movie we have playing when our eyes are open and our thoughts are racing and we're having conversations. We're on our phone scrolling. Like all of that is taking us further away from God.
Mm-hmm.
Coming within.
Is it taking us further away from Him, or is it more so us needing to be aware of what we are in order to experience this world?
If it's a circle, getting us further away, does it keep us here so like that this is the furthest point from the beginning or from God? If it is this kind of
But
way.
you could infinitely get away from God, right?
I think so.
Can you? How if you think of it circular,
Okay.
how so?
Oh, well, it wouldn't be so.
You're saying the fact that everything comes in full circle, or if the fact that you always can come back
Okay,
to God.
I know a way it could be. Like, say it's a circle and you're here furthest away from God. You could go here and just tether. Like, tether.
Okay, but
tether.
see what I'm saying is right here is the furthest point. When you go here, you're closer. When you go here, you're closer.
Mm.
The only furthest point is here.
But God isn't here. God's here. You go here closer. God's in the center. God is the center. He's the source of the circle.
But I think
So-
we're making something up as far as the
Oh,
structure
yeah.
of where God is at. Because like
I just think if we're gonna put it in a
Making it up, but
because you know what I'm saying, more so like if you think about the mustard seed and what it says in the Bible about God being like a mustard seed, it's like you'll never see God, you'll never know where it's at. So a tree, you'll never see the tree inside of the seed. You'll never see the seed inside of the tree. It's now a part of that. So to me, God is now like, when we think about things, it's always in these things, in these illusions still. It's just the fact that the illusion can like
muddy the waters.
Yeah, I think that's what I was saying. Perception. It's like if you know that your awareness, then because that's what we were talking about. Saul thinks that thinking is, or that's what makes us human or alive or existing.
No. I was saying what Descartes says. He's like, I think, therefore I am. Right?
And I don't think that.
A lot of people don't think that.
Really? I just try to think of where can you exist without any thought, without anything to reference. Like I think
without anything to observe.
The thing is that I feel like what he's saying is like whatever when you come back here and you tell me about that experience you had, that out of body experience, or that thing where you're like, man, there was nothing, there wasn't this. When you come and tell me that, the fact that you can refer to that tells me that there was some kind of thinking being done, and that is the part where I'm like, that's why you exist. Just the fact that you can kind of tell me something about that experience one way or another tells me that there's some form of thinking happening. And
but is it necessary to exist, is what I'm saying. It's like
not necessary to exist,
okay,
but necessary from existing. Because you exist, you think. Not.
So you don't have to think to exist, though, right?
You don't have. I don't know. I'm thinking right now. I'm like, I don't know if you.
So for instance, when I did DMT and I was experiencing it, I felt like my body was not here. I felt like I was literally having like a death experience where you.
But how can you tell me about it now?
Right, but so when I was having these visions in my head, and again my eyes are closed, so I'm seeing through what? That's another thing. It's like what am I seeing at that point? Like in my head.
It's like dreams in a sense.
But a dream that's like a movie to where you can literally see
and interact. Oh, I don't know, because the dream state is pretty trippy because your eyes are closed, you're asleep, laying in your bed, but in your dream you're somewhere else.
I guess DMT puts it in a space where though like I can think about it and like observe it in a way that in my dreams I don't have the control that I do.
But some people would say you can train yourself to have control.
Yeah, you can.
Okay, yeah,
okay. But I guess the point, I guess what I'm saying is like, I didn't have the experience or I didn't have the feeling of having a body, of having a personality when I was having these visions. So, but there were times where I would question something mentally. But the weird thing is, anytime I questioned anything, like I would get like a sharp, I swear to God. It was like a sharp pain, like on my body, or like
it was almost like it was reminding you that your thoughts are worldly, like your thoughts are connected to you. Like hello, like stop doing that,
stop
like just let it go.
Really?
No, but I've experienced that, but not on DMT, on mushrooms, and when you start thinking too much in the moment, it brings you back, and you're like, something's telling you just let go, let go, stop doing that. Just let it. And I remember like I kept telling my friend, just chill, just let it. Like and it kept saying to me, like, just let go, quit trying to do that.
But you know what's so weird is like in the opening of my DMT trip, I had like, so the first part was like this thing that was like multiple faces. It was transforming into multiple faces. And I don't like stuff like that. So I was just like, no thanks. Like in my head, I was kind of like, no, I'm good. Yeah, like I'm good, right? Wow. So then after that, it just disappears. And then I'm like in these clouds. And I have a picture of exactly how, this is the crazy thing. I saw on Instagram this one time. And I was like, this is exactly how my DMT trip looked. Like, and it's like clouds. And at the end of the clouds, it's like a gold pyramid at the end. And I went inside of the pyramid and I felt an energy, or like what I would think is like, the only thing that I can describe it as is an explosion. But an explosion seems like less of a word for it.
My life's gonna end, so I'm gonna have to redo it.
So it was like...
It's like so big that it wasn't an explosion.
Like, it sounds, like when you say the word climax, it sounds sexual, but I've heard people describe it as like a climax. Like it feels like so
But it felt,
overwhelming.
I'm about to say uncomfortable
Yeah.
though. Like, it felt very uncomfortable how much energy. Damn, that makes me just think about what we were talking about, like the Kundalini thing. Like,
Oh yeah.
oh, that is so wild. Like, because it just felt uncomfortable, but I was glad to have experienced whatever it was.
Whatever it was.
Yeah. Because inside of a pyramid, that made me interested. It made me interested in it because it's like I heard that the pyramids were originally made for healing.
Because of like their positioning and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
like the energy and how
I heard
it.
that it was like sound. There's like a sound thing that goes into it that when you go in there, like
Supposedly they had
great.
electricity already. Like,
I don't know.
I mean, honestly, I believe it. I got into a Twitter argument yesterday over the pyramids. Dude, some guy was trying. I wouldn't say he was roasting me because if he was roasting me, I'd be offended. But he was trying so hard to roast me, and he was like, "How dare you insult historians and archaeologists like that?" And I was like, "Okay, disclaimer. Here's my disclaimer. I'm sorry if I offended any historians or any of their allies, but I said what I said." And dude, he got so mad. He was like quoting me on his Twitter and like saying how I'm so stupid and ignorant. And I was just like, dude, you're arguing with yourself. Like, I'm like,
that too.
I'm not here to convince you of
that's
anything.
really what it is, though. You're arguing with yourself.
Like, it sounds to me like I triggered some kind of inner monologue.
Is that good though? Is it good for us to trigger people?
I
think triggers are necessary.
I don't like confrontation.
Ooh, yeah, he does.
Cancer.
Yeah, he does it. And for me, I feel like I'm the type of person that if there's something there, I'm gonna confront it because I don't like it lingering in the background or
Mixed.
I'm like, no, I'm gonna nip that in the bud.
I'm very mixed.
I don't like confrontation because usually whenever a confrontation presents itself, I don't have time to think about things. And I'm like, no. I've engaged in this type of confrontation before. And most of the time I kind of regret what I say at the time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to think about it for a while, and then when I'm ready about it, then we can talk.
You done put me onto how a cancer might do some things, because I'm just like,
be careful,
But like for me, that can, like, to me that sounds so, I wish I could do that, right? But then at the same time, being like on the receiving end, I'm like, but I want to know your feelings at the moment. Like, I want you to be authentic with me. Like, be authentic. Like, say some shit, and then I'll accept you taking it back later. Like, if you want to take it back later, take it back later. Like,
no. There's
But-
no such thing as taking it back
but
later,
at
dude.
least I know what
It's
you're
always-
really feeling.
That's so
It's
funny
always
because I'm
you
literally
said
in
what
this
you
situation.
said. It's
But-
always you said what you said, and that's it.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Because I would obviously I would know what you're feeling at the moment. I feel like that's valuable as like an interaction with a human you really care about.
See, but that's
at least I know how I made you feel.
It's almost like you're saying that you're scared to do the Kanye way of doing things.
No, dude, I am. No, I completely am because I see how that shit happens.
Yeah.
What happens just in general, and I'm like, no, you know what? I'm gonna think about it, even if it takes me 2 days. I'm gonna think about it.
Sitting
But I
in
like
silence.
it.
No,
I
not
like
even.
it though.
Not
I
even.
like the.
Not even, because to me, I'm like, okay, I don't even gotta think about it forefront now. I can put it in the back of my head and think about it back there and go on as normal. I don't gotta be.
But to me that sounds so I don't know. To me, for me to being on the receiving end of
This
that.
just happened to me though. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm like, it was a cancer, so I'm just like, oh shit. Like, but I get it. But I think a lot of times people also, it is the fear that you're gonna be taken literally, and that there's nothing else from that you can go.
But I feel that there's value in expressing how you feel in the moment and working together
But
to change how you feel or come to meet to a certain place together.
But what I'm saying is sometimes the thing you say isn't actually how you feel. That's just how you.
But that's what I'm
said.
saying is like,
That's how
that's
you feel.
fine. That's fine though. Like, it's
But-
okay if you're speaking to someone that
That's
you
how I feel,
have
right?
confidence.
When Kanye said the whole Harriet Tubman thing, he was completely wrong. But I knew what he meant. And I think only as a Kanye fan or somebody that watches him, I understood what he meant. That's how I was having my conversation with my mom about this, because she's so against him, right? But I'm just like, okay, you're focusing so much on the mishap. I'm like, I asked her, I was like, honestly, do you really think Kanye is just against black people? Like, do you really think that in your head? And she's like, no. Like, I'm like, okay, so why can't we just look at what he said and like, I know it's like we can't just take it with a grain of salt and like not give him any type of consequence, but why can't we move past it a little bit?
I feel that it's practicing. Like, saying what you're feeling in the moment is practice to connect your verbal thought, your verbal energy to your inner monologue, to where you're like gonna be better at it, at verbalizing your feelings or getting things out better.
I think that's not the only way to practice that, though. That's not the only way to practice connecting with your inner monologue in real time.
I do have a fear, like when I want to have a serious conversation with someone, I do have a fear of, like, say if they're, like, we're already on opposing sides, I do have a fear of saying things that
It's gonna misguide them, or what?
or distract them from what I'm trying to say. If I say a certain word a certain way, or if they notice my tone get a little bit more passionate behind something, it does make me think about, like, maybe should I take my time and like write this, or like.
See, I feel that, but I feel that I ignore that fear because I rationalize it in the sense of that, you know what, if they really understand me and we're really meant to be communicating at this level or whatever it may be, like, it's gonna work itself out. We're gonna work to get to a place where we're gonna be like, okay, I get you, or maybe we'll still disagree, but we'll understand each other better, you know?
Yeah.
And that's where I'm like, you know, fuck all that bullshit. I'm just gonna say what I feel, and I wish you would too. Like, I don't know. That's just how I approach it.
Do you think it's purposely made a certain way that men and women have to have opposing sides on certain conversations?
No, I think that's, dude, I hate that I keep saying this, dude, but I think that comes down to how we're conditioned. I think it comes to conditioning, because honestly, like, there's so many things, for instance, that I feel like, I don't know, even just with you, like, I feel like you disagree with a lot of mainstream women talking points. And I feel like I disagree with a lot of mainstream male talking points. And it's just like, I think it really just comes down to conditioning and how you accept the conditioning that we receive, because we all get conditioned on our phone and on our TVs and on the billboards and at the stores.
I guess what I'm saying that I guess that contrast doesn't always mean conflict.
No.
Okay, so that's what I was gonna say. Do you think it's important to have? I think that shows how important it is to have direct social contact with people. That kind of, I don't know, because if it weren't for having direct, constant, like, communication with you or someone like you, no one's like you, but like with you, that it would sometimes, I think it would be harder for me to think about things a little differently that I see on TV or on my phone or whatever.
I feel
but
like
then I'll express it to you.
friends.
Yeah, like, I'll express it to you and you'll say something I didn't even think of, and I'll be like, oh shit, you're right, you know? But just seeing that news article or whatever it was, I didn't think of that until you said it, and I'm like, oh yeah. But imagine we're in quarantine and you're at home in your 1-bedroom apartment, or you're at home with your parents. You're just thinking it to yourself. You're not gonna have anyone challenging you to think differently, you know?
Yeah. And I guess we do that with, like, who we follow. I guess that's the only thing you can make. Because, for instance, if there goes quite a few days that we are, like, on the same page with everything, like, yeah, that's some bullshit. And then I watch, like, an Alex Jones video, or, like, I'll talk to, like, one of my friends, and then I'll be like, man, they did say some other shit about some stuff, and it made me think a little different about it, right? Like, but then again, we're just choosing who it is that we talk to about those things too.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like people, like, I won't bring up certain things with certain people because I already kind of know what they're gonna say, and I don't want to hear none of that.
But what if they bring it up to you? What do you do?
It depends. Sometimes I just kind of say what I want to say to a degree that I know it won't make them try to lecture me or try to tell me what they do. I'm just like, oh yeah,
See,
yeah, yeah.
I don't know. You're just a better person. I'm like, okay, bet. You want to argue? Okay.
Now I'm like, oh, all right. You want to talk about
Arguing time.
No, I feel like,
I'm big on like getting ready. Like I'm ready
Dude,
for a debate.
me
Like,
too.
Okay, me too.
I love
Me
it.
too, but only with people
Yeah,
that
that you
can
think
have.
that you can get something out
Yeah,
of it.
because if I'm like, I'm
But
ready for this
how do you
debate,
know?
right?
How do you know what's gonna come from somebody you don't think that is?
I'm not willing to take that chance a lot of times. I'm just like, you're a wild card to me. I'm not gonna do that right now. There's too many people here. Or if there's not, that
There
many
goes your
people-
non-confrontational.
Yeah, but if there's not a lot of people here, or a lot of people there that I trust, like if it's like most of my friends, and there's like a person in my friend group, or 2 or 3 people in my friend group who have opposing views, I'll take them on. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like I don't care. But if it's like a friend of a friend and it's like half and half, and I'm like, you know what, I don't know half of these people here, I don't know how this is gonna play out. I'm just gonna be like, you know what, people think just different things, and just take that bill out.
What's really interesting is like to think that there's a God that gave us freedom and is teaching us how to be free.
And then we questioned his existence. In my head, boy.
I think that's a part of knowing. I don't know why.
Oh, yeah.
I feel that it's a part. Maybe I would say take the stretch and is a part of everyone's spiritual journey is questioning whether there is a God or not.
I think it's
I
necessary.
feel like that is the base
Like
of.
questioning God is the
I think-
biggest part. I have questions for God
I
all the
think it
time.
goes down to like even that thing on Aristotle. What Aristotle were you reading? Was it the Metaphysics that you're reading? That he was talking about pretty much always taking the both extremes, right? And then some. I feel that way.
His whole philosophy is when you read Aristotle, you kind of, at least for me, I'm like, okay, so where do you stand? Because he'll attack a subject and he'll say this extreme side of it, and then he'll say the other extreme side of it,
I put extremes out there.
and then
I love extremes.
but he
I love
argues both sides so well. You're like, okay, so where are you? But he doesn't really make that clear. He kind of leaves it up to you to be like, here, I gave you both extremes and I backed them up really well. It's up to you to decide.
Mm.
And when I was reading him, you shouldn't read Aristotle for answers. Well, I guess you shouldn't read any philosopher for answers, but
Just to ask better questions.
yeah, it's just like, dude. So I read that whole fucking book and I still don't know shit.
Damn. Yeah. So I guess that's kind of how I feel. Like, you know, if you really have this firm belief in a positive belief in God or a God, I think it's just absolutely necessary for at least a week. At very
You know
least
what's kind of
a
cool
week.
about it is like
to
you
take
can be
the opposite.
atheist and you low key can just die as an atheist. You might die that way as an atheist. Like literally, like
What
God
if when you
gave
die is when you realize there's God?
And-
You're like, oh
but
fuck.
or God loves you so much that He lets you die the way that you want to die,
Mm.
and you don't become anything.
All
and-
Pisces. all like perfect worlding right there. Creating the perfect world right there.
I do create the perfect world.
That's how it is, right? It's like, fuck it, that's how it is, you know?
I mean, that's just. I imagine like if someone wants to become an illusion, let them.
I get you.
If you don't want to be a part of me, don't.
I find it super interesting to find both kinds of people, like running into a person. When we met, you were atheist. Like, I could not tell him any. Dude, I
Everybody
couldn't.
tells me this every time.
Dude, I could not, like, and I just got to a point where we don't even really talk about it. We didn't really talk about it because I was like, there's no really.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
he's gonna get there himself, basically, is what I thought in my head. I was like, you have to get there yourself. I can't sit here and convince you God
I
exists.
didn't feel like you were positively.
And I wasn't, but I knew there was something going on, right?
Yeah.
And him was like, there's no fucking way. There's no fucking way. But meeting someone like that and then meeting someone who's on the opposite side of the spectrum that has never admittedly questioned God or God's existence,
Yeah.
I feel that is also
I would
it's
rather.
like,
I was I would rather deal with the person that's atheist.
honestly, I
Almost,
relate
like-
more to the person that's atheist
Yeah.
because I was at that point. at
Because
one
it
time.
makes sense to why you get to that point almost.
Yeah,
too.
it's like a blank slate. It's like, okay,
the
you're trying to.
conditioning that's going on would almost make you want to question if God is real or not.
Which is why I say, like, for instance, whenever I think about how I would reiterate my thoughts, I think about it as how would I would talk to a past me that didn't know this? How would I convey that message to them? And I always imagine a situation where someone that wants to know something like intense really actually comes to me and asks me like, dude, what's going on? Is God real or is he not real?
I'm that way.
I always think like, okay, if somebody came to me with a genuine open heart and open mind to like ask me like, what's going on? What is this? And to trust me enough, what would I say to that person? You know? And I'd be like, well, what do you feel right now? If they told me, man, I feel like nothing. I'd be like, dude, go like at least a week thinking there is something. Just go a week and see where that takes you.
And what's interesting, at least what I think I found with God is that all the traditional ways of like people saying like you can't find God this way, I found God that way. Like for instance,
like
it says not to do mind altering things in the Bible, like drugs and this and that. And it's like it's interesting because LSD got me back into looking into God. So I was like, what does that mean then? Like, if you're telling me that I shouldn't have done something, but at the time I was atheist, and now when I did this thing, it gets me to want to find God. Now, what is that?
But because with God, I think for me, it happened the same as for me. I was atheist before the first time I ever did mushrooms, and then I came out of it. Not believing in the God that I was taught to believe in, but believing that something's going on that is otherworldly that I don't understand it. I still don't understand it, but I know it's there.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of
changed. You
changed.
think that knowing is the most important part?
What?
The knowing that something's there?
No.
You don't think that's the biggest part from you changing as an atheist is knowing that something's there?
No. No, not exactly, honestly. Like I said, all I did was like, I just decided at a certain point in my life, I'm gonna make room. I'm just gonna make room for the possibility. And then what I'm gonna do, because I felt like I had spent so many years, whether it be 2 or 3 years, maybe I wanna say like a solid 2 years being like super confirmed that I'm like, okay, I haven't met anybody that can really change my mind, bro. Like, I kind of almost got frustrated that I couldn't find anyone to change my mind, and
To be fair, you weren't very open to the idea.
No, okay, but that's the thing. Like, I just feel like it was weird because I felt like I had a rebuttal for everything that anybody could tell me. At least that's how I felt at the time, right? I felt like I had a rebuttal for anything anybody at that point had told me. I could come up with the opposing view until I started, like I said, making room in my mind for the possibility. And then at that point I realized, you know what? I think I'm gonna go a week positively believing in a God. I'm gonna go just 1 week. I'm gonna make him happen. I'm gonna make it happen. Okay. And that week turned into 2 weeks. 2 weeks turned into 3 weeks. And then after around a month, I was like, hold the fuck up. You know? And then again, it was back and forth with this like dilemma of like feeling like, okay, like is there not, right? And then I just was like, dude, I just felt like completely open to anything.
Yeah.
And then at that point, that's when I felt this positive belief start building where I was like, even if there isn't,
I'm okay.
There's something. Yeah. There's something. Not that there's a God or not that there's just power. I was like, and I would just.
Does that make you comfortable, or I mean, I guess it doesn't have to make you comfortable or not comfortable, but do you feel comfortable knowing that your energy can be used again?
I never think about it. I've never thought about it like that.
As in, like
death, though, like, do you feel comfortable not knowing that you'll not know you ever existed this way?
I never think about it.
I've thought about that because I think about even just like the basic idea of reincarnation, of like coming back as something and you have no recollection of what you were before, and sometimes I think about it and I'm like sad about, you know, people I really love in this life and even my pets, you know, little things like that. I'm just like, oh, I'm not gonna remember them, but then it kind of reminds me to be present. Like that's why you should appreciate now. Like stop thinking about when it's gonna end, because that shit takes you away from what you have now.
But what is appreciating now? Like,
being
is that
fully present.
But how would you explain that to someone who's
That
like
doesn't know what that is.
no, not just who doesn't know what that is, but even just someone who'd be like, all that is, somebody who would say something like, all that is having being able to harness in a better memory for later. All that being present truly is being able to harness in a better memory for later.
And like feel it in a way.
Yeah, to be able to go back later and be like, man, remember that time that I was doing that thing? It felt so good, and it felt like this, and I smelled this, and I heard that, and I saw this. And it's like all you're doing is focusing more energy to be able to have a better memory later.
See, but
which
this
isn't the
is
same as being
what
present.
I would do is what I like essentially did with you is just be like, okay, like I don't feel that it's my place to convince anyone about God.
Yeah.
I feel that you can't do that with anyone.
Mhm.
It's gonna be their
Choice.
Well, it comes down
So
to
then
them.
it's your choice too, then, to believe.
I'm just
the
gonna be
positive.
like, yeah.
But what
I got here through my own work, and like I feel that you're gonna have to do that yourself, and I don't think I have adequate linguistic or experiential ability to get you to where I'm at.
That scares me too, because like when people like ask me like, how did you get so comfortable with being masculine and feminine, expressing certain things about yourself and doing this and doing that, it's like I can't give you the
formula.
It's not even in a way of like, oh, I can't do this. It's like, but it is in a way like I can't give you the cheat sheet to the test. Like, just study for the test. Like, it's like do your own studying.
Exactly, and I don't feel that
because what works for me isn't gonna work for you.
Exactly, and like, and especially someone that's already like has a belief in something. Even if I did have the best arguments, because they might do the work and study the people with the best arguments and still won't be convinced. So why am I gonna waste my energy trying to convince you? You're not gonna get there from me sitting here telling you all of my experiences.
Yeah.
So to me, it's not a waste of time, but
Do you think it could be more so interesting to tell people what you're looking for?
I'm being trolled on here.
every girl
It's because you saw me doing
I'm sorry.
these.
Have you ever seen a little baby one where he's just like taking a water bottle and he just like turns it? And they're just like, what is he doing?
Yeah. No, I get you. But I get you though. I just think like, but that's what discourse is. In discourse, you do that. Like, how did you convince yourself from a negative to a positive? And it's not that it's like, again, like I want the code of how you did it. It's just like, I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. I guess at that point, it's like you tell somebody what to look for. Like, you can't tell them what to do, but you can tell them like, look, this is a sign of something. Like I don't know, for instance, right? I see numbers. I see 333, 555, all that shit, and it sounds all corny and shit on Instagram and how people put all types of quotes and shit. But I see that shit, and I can't make anyone else believe that I see that. Mm-hmm. But the people around me that are like, say, my roommate, when it happens, I make sure I'm like, look, and they start to see it, and they're just like, whoa. What the fuck? That is kind of strange. And I'm just like, yeah, it is kind of strange. Like, why do I keep seeing this number during this time or like this period of my life? And I go and see what the meaning is, and it kind of aligns with what I'm going through. Like, those type of things are just kind of like some matrix shit. It's
See, that's what I think though. What it actually boils down to, if you were to ask me, I'd be like, I think it really actually boils down to just like I said, at a certain point, I made space for this to be real in my life, and then it.
Yeah.
No, but it's true. All I would say is that
it's funny how you said make space, like almost like a technological.
It's like, bro, straight up. If you like, everywhere that there's clocks and numbers, bro, turn them off. You would stop seeing all that shit, bro. But that's the thing. Like you're not making space. You're now canceling out the space for it.
But that's what I meant.
And if you do the same thing with like.
When I was like, no, that's what I meant whenever I was like, to be fair, at the time you weren't open to the idea. Because we would have conversations, and I remember a specific conversation, I was like, everything has energy. And looking back at
But
the
you said everything's alive.
okay, so looking back, I was going still like trying to figure it out myself, right? Like this is a simulation. Like this is all like I still can't even really verbalize it. But I remember we were laying in his room and I was like, these walls, like they're alive, like everything is alive, like this has now I would phrase it differently, obviously now.
Yeah.
Because I've thought about it more.
It's hard to tell a 4-year-old that the wall is alive.
Yeah, or even I wouldn't say it like that, but like.
That's
now,
what I'm saying. Like, as a 4-year-old, like if you're trying to tell a 4-year-old, like.
All of this is some. I see.
But the thing is that I remember that conversation really well too, and then I remember
laughing at me.
Yes, but then I remember you asking me like, okay, well then what's up? And then I said something, right? And then right after that, we had the same philosophy class, and we had to write the paper, and then we had to read this dude. And all he did was pretty much say kind of like what I said. And you're looking at me like, dude, you're a troll, like, you know what I mean? And I was like, isn't that crazy that there's somebody who thinks like, I'm like, dude, that's the thing. I've been filled with all of these ideas. Like, this is what I think.
And that was like, even now, like, I think at the time I was like, okay, yeah, the case is built really well, but that doesn't mean you have to hold that position.
But do you think that you have to? So you have to choose. So you have to choose basically if you want God. Or if you want to live in that existence.
I feel like
that's kind of getting back to what I said. Too,
I feel
like anything's possible. Like
well, I feel like kind of like the thing that I feel like a lot of like Christians say this. Like I hear this a lot, like in like. From Christian, like, talking points, it's like, God's always there waiting for you. You can go as far as you want.
You
go, it's interesting.
Yeah, you can go as far as you want that way. As far as, like, what you want to think, and you can, even worship saying God's there waiting for you. And I hear that, like,
and
in
I would say
churches
I've experienced that. I've went as far,
really?
not as far as possible, but
yeah,
I've gone pretty far from where regular Christians wouldn't go.
I feel you, and I just think like, okay, like that idea is not necessarily God waiting for you, but just letting you know, hey, whenever you want to make room. Bro, you can change your life just like that, just by making room.
Really quick, yeah.
It's not that there's an actual God there waiting for you with a little sign like, hey, Saul, here I'm at. It's that because I feel like, you remember when we were talking about God's the center and we're just the spokes?
Yeah.
Like, we are the spokes. We have direct connection to Him. If we want Him, we just got to think
tune
Him.
We have to tune in.
It's always a perspective thing, then. It's like, it's almost like always like...
And I used to hate that. I used to hate when people said, well, life is all about perspective. I was like, you're stupid.
You would hate when I would say things happen for a reason. You'd be like, no, they fucking don't. I'd be like, yes, they do.
In hindsight,
they do, but they don't.
In hindsight, I just think back like, those things just weren't properly conveyed to a thinker. That's not how you convey those thoughts to somebody who does thinking.
That makes sense. I was gonna say, like, for instance, when we were talking about sexual transfer yesterday, I was trying to explain this to a person yesterday of what that means and like how deep that can go. And they were just like, well, I don't know about like consciousness and this and that being transferred and blah, blah, blah. That's kind of too much, I was just like, I thought about it right. As soon as he did that, I was like, boom. I was like, all right, makes sense. I was like, I need to hear it this way. Like, for me, I need to hear it in a way that I'm releasing energy that doesn't need to be released and da-da-da-da-da. Where someone else might just need to hear it as, oh, it's a sin, don't do it. That's it. And that's why.
That's so interesting. I never thought of it. Well,
because the sin don't do it thing doesn't work for me.
Yeah, same,
so I need to understand why it's useful not to have sex all the time. It's like, or
that's such
why
a great point.
Yeah. So,
but I feel that there are also different things that go into it. It's like you said, like a thinker, and then there's feelers who kind of trust their intuition, or they kind of go all in. They'll die on the hill of I had that feeling it was gonna happen. happen. Versus like dying on the hill of like any rational person.
I feel both.
And I want to go my intuition
Now I
way more
feel
now,
both.
though. Like I like to lean on my intuition though.
Now I
because-
feel both, but at that time I felt like it was more of like I can't convey to you what I just feel
Do
it.
you
like.
think the gut feeling is a cheat sheet?
I feel like it sounds fucked up, but I feel like I can measure stuff. I can see stuff and be like, my gut's telling me this is gonna go wrong, but I know it's not gonna go wrong enough that when it does go wrong, I can't fix it later. So if no one else is going to kind of like come and act, then I'm just gonna let that shit go wrong and see what happens. But if I'm like, okay, no, if I don't do something, it's gonna be unfixable, I will act. You know what I mean? As far as like my gut feeling telling me something's not right here. Something's not right. I'll just kind of let it be. And then later be like, unless I can tell like, oh dude, if I let that be, it'll be unrepairable. You know what I mean? Then
Do you believe when you meet a person, you know exactly what kind of person they're going to be in your life?
No.
Automatically?
No.
I believe that it's yeah.
I don't feel that way automatically. I just feel like
I kind of do.
I do too. Like you have you ever met someone where you're like, oh, like, and you just know, like, there's no words to like describe and be like, okay, like
but see, that's never failed you? Where you thought, oh, this is gonna be my homie, and then later you're like,
that's
you know.
failed me, but it also has not. So I'm like,
But say yes
it
and
has.
no.
I know, but to me, I trust the no's because the fact that that's failed me once, I'm like, it could fail me again. I could be wrong again right now.
But to me, the ones that haven't failed me are worth taking that risk because the ones that.
No, I get that.
But what do you think?
I
what
don't
do you
think that it's necessary to like go all in on a person just on the risk.
Like,
No,
like,
I
but
mean, you
more
can
so
still
like-
be responsible
but
with
do
your
you think-
energy. Like,
But do you think like, fuck, this is so interesting. Do you think, this is how deep I try to go with this.
Go.
Do you think, like, if we're made of stardust and all this shit, right?
Mm.
Do you think that feeling that you're talking about when you just know something, like, you know, you might not know that person's going to be, I guess, this category of a person, but you know that this person is important.
Yeah.
Do you think that has anything to do from, like, coming from, like, the same type of star or, like, some type of, like, home or...
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah, maybe not worded exactly like that, but I see where you're getting it. Like, I can see, yeah. Like,
Okay.
I felt that way, like, and I feel like we've had, like, similar conversations, not saying that thing, like, not using the term, like, stardust or something, but, like, but, like, we've had that conversation of, like, it's just something else. Like, it's something we can't really explain that, like, I've either known you before, or we're from the same place, or, like, we're connected.
We're trying to learn something the same way.
We're bounded. We have something that
Bounds us.
that bounds us. Yeah, that tethers us together. Like no matter what. Like, and I
That's interesting.
and to me
think
it's like
about. Like to balance us though. Like that's interesting.
Because that is kind of how I feel. Like I feel like there's something that bounds us. Like I don't know what it is, and I can't describe it exactly. But I'm just like, man.
I feel that way. Oh yeah, I feel that way about like you and I for sure. Like. Like we've gone like the furthest away from each other as possible, but I still felt you. If that makes sense.
I get exactly what you mean.
Like, you know,
I had
don't
an
know, it's just
experience,
weird.
and I don't bring this up often, but I've had an LSD experience where me and my one of my old roommates, like we did LSD, and like we got a text on both of our phones at the same time, literally the same time. Before he picked it up, I was like, before you pick up the phone, let me know if that's somebody that you also did LSD with. And I kid you not, both of us had got a text from both people that we've also did LSD with. And did something intimate with those people. That tripped me the fuck out. Because it's like, how?
And it's almost
How?
like
That takes me at the same time where both of us are tripping and we've tripped with both of you before. It was just, to me, I don't know, I can't explain shit like that. I can't explain shit like
that is
that.
pretty weird.
It's just like, how? There's no way. There's no way. Like.
And then someone that would be like, oh, it's just a coincidence, but like, in what are the chances, right? Like, what are
The possibilities are like, if you want to put numbers to it, like that someone randomly texts you at the same time as me.